So what makes me cranky about Power Rangers? Did you know it's about the Power Rangers? Because they're the Power Rangers, and they need to morph. If they can't morph, everyone will die, so they better morph, because of the Power Rangers, and Power Rangers morph. It seems like the writers weren't sure we would remember this as a remake of the Power Rangers if they didn't constantly remind us by using terms like Power Rangers and morph as often as possible. Which is weird, because it has all the other elements in place. 5 teenagers with attitudes, power coins, a hidden lair with a squeaky-voiced robot, and a floating head on the wall, giant mechanical dinosaur bots, you name it. So it's not like they strayed especially far from the source on this and needed something to hammer home that this actually is based on something and not just some script they dusted off and slapped the name on. The tone is obviously a little more serious than the TV show was, but it's not like Batman vs. Superman where everything is so dark and depressing you can barely recognize it anymore. In fact, I'd say this is easily one of the best adaptations of something from that time period I've seen. If it weren't for the constant injection of the goofy 90s era terminology, it would actually be a great standalone action sci-fi flick. They did a really good job of morphing the things that people liked about the show into a more serious and believable story. I mean, if you want Bulk and Skull doing the Three Stooges routine and the Rangers holding up their power coins and shouting the name of their Zords, then yeah, you'll be disappointed. But if you wanted a more modern cinematic take on the whole idea, you've got it here. I, for one, was really surprised at how much I enjoyed myself with this. It didn't have quite as much fighting as you might expect, but that was okay because that time was devoted to meeting these characters and bringing them together so that when the big climactic battle goes down, you at least have some reason to care about them. It's a solid balance between the two things, not too bogged down in nonsense character exposition so that you get bored, not so short as to feel like these 5 people became friends and super ninjas in 5 minutes. Although the actual in-universe training time obscured by the montages is laughably short for the skills they have in the final battle, particularly when it comes to piloting the Zords. Hell, the Pink Ranger is an alien dogfighter without having any flight experience whatsoever as far as the movie goes. I wasn't really sold on the designs of Goldar, and particularly the Megazord or the means by which they actually form the Megazord, but given how well they did with the look of everything else, I'll just give them the benefit of the doubt that anything closer to the original concepts just looked too ridiculous for the world they built here. Speaking of bests, the best thing about this movie for me was by far Elizabeth Banks as Rita Repulsa. Everyone else, including the always underutilized Bryan Cranston, is perfectly serviceable in their roles, but she stands out because she just goes completely all in on this character. Whether she's being a super creepy gold junkie or simply reveling in her villainy, it is so much fun to watch her ham it up, and it reminded me a lot of how Raul Julia saved Street Fighter from being unwatchably bad by just going completely over the top with Bison. It's doubly impressive because I found Rita Repulsa incredibly grating in the show, so it's awesome to see somebody take such a stupid character and turn it into something I genuinely enjoyed watching. That's really all it comes down to with this Power Rangers movie. I had a good time. It has a good mix of drama, comedy, and action, still felt true enough to the source not to come across like a total shameless cash grab, and yet it still manages to be its own thing. I don't know that makes it a full-price movie for anyone who isn't a fan of the series or whose kids aren't bored of Beauty and the Beast already, but it's not a bad way to tune out the world for a couple hours, so a matinee probably wouldn't be a waste of your money. That's what I thought about Power Rangers anyway. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. And if you hit those like and subscribe buttons, you too may soon find yourself piloting a giant robot that happens to look a lot like me.